Hey guys, I just wanted to make a follow-up video on yesterday's video for the reason that 343 has issued a lot of statements after what happened yesterday, and I think it's only fair that what they said, is heard, and especially because not everybody uses Twitter, not everybody's on there, so I wanted to make sure what 343 had to say, is heard by enough people. So, yesterday I made a video on, the palette for Juneteenth. And I believe it was in about like a half an hour of publishing this video. 343 fixed it. They fixed the issue. They changed it to freedom. Obviously, this is what it should have just been named from the get-go. But, that's good, all right? I'm not really going to be like, oh, wow, thank you so much for fixing it. I'm just like, good, it's fixed. That's what I wanted. That was the main intention of this video, 343 then did respond to me. Unisec responded and said, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We strive to create diverse and inclusive gaming communities. While the original name refers to an internal tool set, it was not intended to be applied to this content, and we recognize the harm it may have caused. The palette was incorrectly named, and we immediately renamed it via an update. So they're saying that they have some kind of tool, I believe it's a tagging tool, that has the same name, Bonobo, that, the palette was mistakenly named. It's a little light on details, honestly. But if they're saying, it was a mistake, okay. Bonnie Ross actually responded about this as well. She is the head of 343 Industries. She said, we were made aware of a palette option for our Juneteenth emblem that contained a term that was offensive and hurtful. The team immediately addressed this issue via an update. We're a studio and franchise that is committed to inclusivity where everyone is welcome and supported to be their true self. On behalf of 343, I apologize for making a celebrated moment a hurtful moment. Look, man, they're saying they made a mistake, they're apologizing, and they fixed it. I mean, what more do we really want, right? I gotta be honest, I don't know how the name of the tool set happened to end up on this particular item, and it only happened to the Juneteenth palette. It's like, why did it only happen to this? But what I can tell you is that multiple people from 343 did reach out to me, and they are really adamant on it being a mistake. And I think, if it wasn't a mistake, they wouldn't be so, adamant about the fact that, they're saying it was a mistake. So I accept that it was a mistake. Again, it's still hard to imagine, like how could this mistake be made? But look, again, they fixed it extremely fast and they apologize. It's really not that big of an issue that it needs to go any further. That's it. For me, it's all right, time to move on. We pointed out the issue. The issue was fixed. They said sorry. I think that's it. I don't think there's a need to try and make it a bigger thing than it is. But of course, I included this tweet from Jake Lucky. He's a pretty well-known person, especially on Twitter. Look, this thing went around. The fact is that even though I feel it's not that big of a deal, on its face, it was just pure face palm. It was damn, this is just one of those weird things where it's both not a big deal at all, and it kind of is a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big deal in that, okay, it's just the name of a palette. They're saying it's a mistake. Fine, we accept that it's a mistake. But it's also damn, bro, out of all the items in the game, the Juneteenth thing is called Bonobo. Bruh. It's more just shocking and how did this even happen in the first place? Okay, last thing I want to talk about with this, I want to point something out. So I actually lost subscribers for making this video, and the video has gotten a unusual amount of dislikes, way more than usual. It's actually gone up even more than what I'm showing you here. I'll bring up on the screen the actual amount now. And I did get a lot of comments with people literally cheering on that this happened. And then I got a lot of comments from people being yo, it's not a big deal. Why are people making a big deal out of it? I just want to send a message to those people. Two things. So for people who think this wasn't a big deal, maybe you haven't experienced anything like this before, so it's not a big deal to you. But let me give you an example, all right? Police officers in America, for example, they're often characterized as being jerks and whatnot. But what you have to understand, I think, about police officers in America, every day they're kind of dealing with problem people for the most part, right? The police are not normally called because everybody's having a fun time, right? It's usually they're getting called because something's going down, and they do deal with a disproportionate amount of assholes, right, on a daily basis. So of course their guard is more up right? So like when an officer pulls you over in the United States, usually they don't come over and they're all like super friendly to you, right? Because again, they're kind of dealing with a disproportionate amount of difficult people on a daily basis. And so police officers in America, typically they're going to see things a little differently because they are seeing things on a daily basis that's different from what you're seeing. And the same kind of thing is true for people of color in America and probably across the world, right? People of color, like, they're seeing things that you might not see, all right? It might not be on a daily basis, okay? But things just kind of stick out more. And this is one of those things that just kind of sticks out more, right? It's like, damn, man, on the Juneteenth. So that's like the best way I can explain it. It's like the same way a police officer has a different experience from you and sees things different. Same thing for a person of color. They're seeing things that you don't see. It's just a different experience. And so when you see something like this, it's just kind of like, it just gets added to that history of seeing things that are racist. Now, again, 343 is saying this was just a mistake, right? It's just a mistake. So if that's true, the intent behind this was not to be racist, right? But on its face, if you have any common sense at all, you should be able to understand why someone would interpret this as being racist, right? And that's why, like, they had to come out and issue apologies, right? Like, if you're sitting there confused as to why people are upset, just ask yourself why 343 had to come out and apologize for this, right? Like, Bonnie Ross, let's be honest, she doesn't really tweet very often, you know, and even she tweeted about this, okay? So you have to, again, ask yourself, why are they coming out and apologizing? Why did they fix it with like light speed? Because it is a big deal, man. It is. So I don't know. I hope that helps people who are like, I don't understand why people are upset. I don't get it. It's not a big deal. And the last thing I'll say is, look, man, I get it. Like, I totally get it. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest, right? You know, a lot of people, especially in America, but I think across the world too, it's like, they're like, yo, this doesn't bother me, so I don't care. This doesn't affect me, so I don't care. So I don't understand why you guys are upset about this. If you're one of those types of people who just like doesn't care, like, I'm not gonna try to get you to care. Like, I feel like that's impossible. But what I will say is, like, you know, when something like this is brought up and then people see people like trying to downplay it, like, oh, it's not a big deal. Why are you making a big deal out of this? That just, again, it goes into that kind of like history of other people having to deal with this kind of stuff, and it does matter to them. And it just makes you want to defend it even more. So it's like, if you just don't care and you don't want anybody to talk about this kind of stuff, you might as well just keep that to yourself, honestly. Because when you just come out and you're like, I don't understand why people care. You guys make a big deal out of nothing. You're just practically punching yourself in the face. If you don't want it to be a big deal, then just don't say anything, honestly, you know? Because when you say something, by you saying something and trying to downplay it, you end up making it a bigger deal than it is, because people are just going to want to debate with you and argue with you. All right. And like, why wouldn't they? Again, like, they're basically in the right. Like, it was a big deal, and it's not a big deal. I don't know, man. I just see these kinds of things as like perhaps like a learning opportunity, you know? Maybe we can kind of understand each other a little better. So that's all I tried to do in this video, try to give my take on it. So that's all I really have to say on it. You know, I think they came out, they apologized, they gave us a reason. It's up to you ultimately if you want to accept the reason. Personally, I accept it. All right. It was a mistake. Fine. Let's move on.